No problem. All right, welcome back to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have actor Melissa Ponzio, who's starring in Teen Wolf the movie, which is coming out. I apologize. What's the date that it debuts?
It's going to come out January 26th. So we're in the countdown.
All right, great. Yeah, so we're not too far away from it then.
No, not at all.
All right, great. So how's everything going for you right now?
Good. We're really excited about the movie coming out. Everyone's being real kind on social media to check in and, posting past images. I took a lot of photos while we were shooting. That's one thing that I wanted to really be able to kind of document, I guess, in a way that, I maybe had missed when we were shooting the television show. And unfortunately, it includes a lot of spoilers. So we're just going to have to wait for those photos. But we're really excited. We're really excited to be on Paramount Plus. And, as I've said before, you take 100 episodes and you try to boil it down into a movie. It was a difficult thing. And I'm really excited to see, our friends and our fans, what we pulled from and what we've actually made, to see what they think about it. Cause we think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. What was I have to admit, I'm familiar with the show, but I've never watched it.
Yeah.
So what was the, do you know what the reason was for turning the series and making a movie? I mean, what was the impetus behind it?
Well, Brett, we're very lucky. We're very lucky as a cast and a crew to have this family, this Teen Wolf family that has been engaged with us all these years since we've been off the air. And I really think it was to the credit of our fans and the people that love the show and the resurgence of the show. A lot of times I meet people at conventions who are saying things like, I grew up with Teen Wolf. I've showed it to my little sister and now we sit down and we watch it. Or mom and I used to watch it and now, I'm watching it with, whoever. And so it's this passed down legacy. And so I don't believe that the zest for Teen Wolf has ever really died down. And I think that just like anything else, I think things have to collide, right? You have to have a certain amount of motivation, a certain amount of creativity. You have to have the outlet. You have to have the people in place. And when all of those things come together, then we have the luck of what we had, which is, a second bite at the apple, so to speak, because not many casts get to do this. Not many casts get to come back together as a family and really enjoy one another and really get back into the swing of things and make something that they're so proud of.
Well, speaking of that, what was it like getting back together with everyone?
It was really amazing. I've shared that, we had about, let's call it 40 days of principal photography for the movie. And the first 7 to 10 were actually out in Los Angeles for scheduling purposes. And also because some of the sets from our show, Brett, are still out there. So we have the Beacon Hills Hospital that's out there. We have the sheriff's station that's out there. Some of the school sets are still out there. And so we were able to utilize those original sets for the movie. And then we actually came to Atlanta and shot around 30 days of principal photography, which is a really nice button for people that have been with us for the entire ride, because first and second season were actually shot here in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then we moved out to Los Angeles for the tax incentive. So it was kind of like this reverse parabola of actually starting back where we were.
Yeah, it's weird that you would, because LA has gotten so expensive to film, and it's funny that they're now going back to trying to lure people back.
Yes. So that's been going on for a while. I think, I'm not that well versed in it, but it just seems like for a while there that production was kind of going everywhere, right? We were in Canada and we were down in Mexico and we were overseas and now with COVID and people auditioning from everywhere and other locations becoming more available and more apt to cater to an entire film or television show for a long period of time. Here in the South, New Orleans had a real big run. Wilmington, North Carolina had a real big run. Shreveport actually had some happenings there. There's stuff down in Florida, and so there's a lot of things other than just us being in town that need to be there. You need the infrastructure, right? You need the hotels, you need the restaurants, you need the transportation, all of that's available. So as more of that became available around the States, production followed.
Yeah. Well, Atlanta's been a huge area for filming, or Georgia in particular.
Absolutely.
For a while now.
Yeah, we have a lot of Marvel stuff that's here.
Yep.
Tyler Perry Studios are here. Obviously, Walking Dead and all of that lore was here. Stranger Things Network has a big footprint here.
Yeah. Well, where are you from originally?
Excuse me, I was born in New York, in the
Yeah,
city.
that makes sense.
And my parents, my parents were together for a while and then they separated. And then when my mom remarried, we were remarried into the restaurant business. And so we moved around a lot. So I've been everywhere from California to Ohio, down to West Palm Beach, Florida, back up here to Atlanta.
Yeah. And when did you get to Atlanta?
90.
Okay, wow. So you've been there for a while.
Yeah. So, it's really hard to find what we call a peach, which is somebody that's born here in Atlanta. But I think
Mhm.
at least being here from 90, I think at least I'm a half a peach.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you could talk a little bit about how, I mean, going back a bit, how you originally got cast on the show to begin with, and what that experience was like, and what, where you've taken the role, up till now.
Well, thank you. I was very lucky that one of my best friends, her name is Tiffany Morgan, was actually here in Atlanta. I was out in Los Angeles at the time, and she was auditioning for Teen Wolf. She was auditioning for one of the mom roles, and I'm not sure which one. But she called me and she's like, "Hey, have you heard about this Teen Wolf? Have you gone in on it yet? Because you look just like the kid." And I was like, "No, you mean Teen Wolf from back in the day, like Michael J.
Yeah,
Fox?"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was lucky enough to have representation out in Los Angeles. And so I called them and I said, "Is it possible to come out, get in the, nobody knew who I was. Like, can I kick this door down?"
Yeah.
And so they were like, "Let's see if we can get you an appointment." So I got an appointment and went in, and then I got a call to come back. And Brett, I remember just a vision of like walking in, and there were really kind of named girls that were there, girls
Mhm.
with recognition that, visual recognition, name recognition, more credits than me. So, you're walking into well, shit, this was fun, because obviously they're going to take one of these girls. And, did my best in the callback, and then got a call a couple of days later. And they were like, "Look, you're not their first choice. The other girls have passed on it, but we're shooting in Atlanta and not a lot of people want to go to Atlanta to work." And I was like, "Well, I'll go to Atlanta to work." And they said, "Oh, well, it'll be great because it's just a couple of episodes and then they're just going to write the parents out, and the parents won't be involved. It's kind of going to be the, Vampire Diary vibes." And so then close to 70 episodes later, parents very involved. Beacon Hill's very rich with different characters, and from the sci-fi part of it and mystical part of it to real life humans that do magical things as well. So that's how it started. No expectations, but I do remember the first day that I sat down with Tyler and we had lunch, and we were just jamming, eating whatever catering had. And I
Mhm.
remember thinking to myself, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun. This is going to be a lot of fun. Like, if we get a chance for it, this is going to be a lot of fun. And then after the first season, it was gangbusters. I mean, who knew that was going to happen?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. I like I said, I'm familiar with it. I know that it became a real big thing
Oh yeah.
for
Yeah.
for the network.
Dare I say a juggernaut? Like, I mean, I think that they knew that it was going to be popular, but
Mhm.
I don't think anybody knew that it was going to strike such a chord, and such a chord that would bring us here today,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially to have the clamoring to do a movie and pick things back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool. What's been your favorite part of working on the show, or the end of the movie, I suppose, too?
I mean, honestly, my favorite part is just being able to say that I was part of something that really struck a chord in people's hearts.
Mhm.
I mean, as actors, you always hope to work, whatever that means, right? And then you hope to be on a show for a certain amount of time, to be able to actually play a character, through thoughts, feelings, experience, all those kinds of things, that kind of
Right.
art, that's what we strive for. Not everybody gets to do that. Sometimes we get 1 or 2 episodes. And we're happy with that. We're happy with that creativity. But to be able to say, I was really part of something that meant a lot to a lot of people, so much that they actually brought it back. I think that is super meaningful, and super, we're all in a lot of gratitude about it. And then, I say this all the time, we're friends. All of us are really good friends. And when we hang out on the set, we're hanging out and we're having laughs, and we're going over to, craft service, and everybody's getting a Twizzler and a Diet Coke, and we're talking about people's lives. And so that part of it is fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure that other actors have been on sets where when it's cut, everybody kind of goes to their trailers and,
Yeah.
they're doing their thing. And that's okay too, because some people like to just preserve their energy. But it's a home. Teen Wolf is a home.
Yeah. It seems like I mean, that's the kind of better way. I know that that seemed to be the case on the show you were on, The Walking Dead.
Yeah, man.
Everybody seems to have always loved each other on that show. And maybe there was a couple people that not everybody liked, but nobody's ever talked about them as far as I can tell.
No, I mean, again, I think it's a family show, and it's specifically, I would even put another layer on it that, Brett, when you're talking about sci-fi shows or the protection of the legacy and the mystery of a show, that brings a cast even tighter together, because you don't want spoilers to you don't want spoilers to get out because of you. And so, you kind of herd with the people that you trust, and you hang around with the people that you trust. And, because I mean, we all kind of know what happens in Law and Order, but like Stranger Things, again, I use it as an example, Walking Dead, Teen Wolf, you have to kind of protect the show. And how you do that is protecting yourself in a way that you're not letting things slip. I mean, if we're all talking about it, great. And so it actually kind of culminates in a closer cast, if that makes sense, when you're keeping secrets.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's
really awesome.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the actual film that's coming out? I mean, what's the gist of it, and what part does your character play in it?
So, again, can't say too much, but
Right.
we find ourselves a little bit in the future, and so, and I think that was very wise by Jeff Davis, our creator and head writer, and the entire writers' room, to kind of give us some space. And so we're meeting these characters where they are many years later, and that's given a lot of growth, and that's given a lot of opportunity to see new relationships form, and maybe new alliances, and but I think we all come together with the same purpose. And that purpose is, for protection of our pack and the people that we love. There's a lot of action. We were always doing action. I mean, I know that you said that you don't watch the show, haven't watched it yet, but we used to say that every episode was like shooting an independent film, because our crew really strived to make it extremely creative and extremely visually tactile and beautiful in a way. And we wanted to get the stunts right, and the action right, and the mythology right. And, and everybody worked really, really hard. It was a hard show to work on, and anybody that was there wanted to be there.
Right.
And I think that for the movie as well.
Well, is that something that you took to easily, is like the action stuff, or had you been used to it from other things, or was this harder than, like, not just the movie, but the show itself? Was the action on the show harder than you had experienced before? Tougher, not necessarily difficult, but strenuous?
Yeah, it's a good question. My action part of it and stunts part of it are slim compared to like maybe what I did in the show, but it's a good question. I mean, I think as an actor, you're always going to be like, I want to be the one that's swinging in off the rope. And then when you actually see that rope, you're like, hey, is anyone going to swing on this rope for me?
Yeah, right.
So I think everybody has a particular, Mendoza line of where they'd like to go.
Right.
Only Tom Cruise can, jump out of a airplane on a motorcycle that, goes into a free dive, that then he's all of a sudden hits the water and scuba diving and spearfishes. Like, not everybody can do that. So, but yeah, we all get a taste of it. And again, a credit to Jeff and the writers for like allowing that to happen. I mean, I think it's really great when you have everybody involved in everything.
Well, I wanted to, because we were talking about it for a second, I don't want to take up too much time on this, but the fact is I just started rewatching it again, and I'm already way past the episodes you were in, but I rewatched The Walking Dead recently, and you're in it for a bit, but you're a central figure to move the plot along. You played Karen at the prison in The Walking Dead. What was your experience like making that show?
So that was pretty amazing. You first of all, to have a juggernaut like that here in Atlanta and to be able to audition for it was just, you know, everyone was very grateful to have an opportunity to do that. And then I got a call one day and they're like, hey, they have a role for you. We can't tell you anything about it. We don't know what it's about. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And I get to set, and it's kind of like walking home. You know, you see all these people at the top of their game that, you know, we've been working with each other for 20 years. And so there's a lot of shout outs. Hey, how you doing? Yo, Ponzio, you know, so all of that. And that was a lot of fun. It was like, you know, you're the new person, but you have family that's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to credit Lori Holton, because she really, you know, she was the lead female on that show at the time. And she really welcomed me. She was very warm to the character. She was like, hey, my character needs a friend here, you know, excuse me. You know, she needs an ally here. And I think that through her interest in making her character a certain way, that probably brought more interest to my character, because very easily I could have just been there for 2 episodes. You know, no one's guaranteed anything on that show unless you're one of the leads. And then I do know through talking with producers that there were several scripts of that season 3 where several different combinations of people either lived or died. And so, you know, at the end, I was just the lucky one, you know, to get out of Woodbury. And then I think that they, you know, in the writer's room between season 3 and season 4, you know, Scott Gimple took over and he wanted to take it back to the comic books, and he, you know, kind of the vibe. And so he knew that he needed to raise the stakes for Tyrese in order for his character to go on and, you know, face the challenges that he needed to in this world. And that was what was told to me. I mean, you know, Scott was very nice enough to bring me into a meeting and was like, look, this is the first time I've had to have this, you know, conversation with anybody, but you're going to meet your demise in 402. And then everybody started meeting their demise. Everybody died on that show. I mean, dropping like flies. But it was an amazing experience to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah. I wish I know the actor's name, and what was the actor's name that played Tyrese?
Chad Coleman.
Chad Coleman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew him from The Wire.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan of that. What was it like working with him? He seems like he's probably a good guy.
He's a good guy. He's exactly, you know, you meet him and you see exactly who he is. He's a protector. He's very jovial. He's happy to be there. He's a great asset to set. He was very warm and welcoming to me. You know, you have to kind of build this relationship almost immediately when you're given it. And so, you know, very professional. I think we both kind of sailed through that as best as we could. And it was a lot of fun. You know, Melissa McBride and I kind of came up in Atlanta together, and we've been friends 20 years plus, and it was really great to work with her. And so if anybody had to kill me, I'm glad it was her.
Melissa was one of those really great, you know, finds. I know she had been working for a while, and I'm sure I've seen her and stuff, but I didn't really notice her until The Walking Dead, and she was just absolutely amazing throughout that show.
Well, there's a little lore story of how she was in a movie called The Mist. Stephen King's The Mist.
The Darabont movie.
Yeah, and she was working with Frank, and Frank loved working with her so much. I say Frank like I know him, but loved her so much that he actually rewrote the end of the story so that she could, spoiler alert, come back in a certain way, her character come back. Because we lose her at the beginning of it, you know, maybe 20 minutes in. And so she kind of comes back in a very purposeful way. And the word is that she was one of the first people that were on the list to be one of the characters on The Walking Dead, and got a personal phone call from him. So, I think loosely that's actually a very true story. But yeah, so, you know, these large projects for these, you know, these flagship channels, they're years in the making. There's years and decisions that are made way before anybody even knows about it. And she was just really lucky, just like we all are, that we show up on set, we do our best job, because we never know what we do today may actually prove something for our careers 5 years down the line.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in her case too, she wasn't even added to the series, the main cast for, I think, until season 4 at some point. I believe. I could be wrong about that. I'm sure some Walking Dead fan out there, like, you know, mega fan, even though I've seen the series.
DM us.
I'm like on the 6th run. But I can't. every time I watch the show, I was like, I can't remember everything because there's so many different storylines to remember. It's like I don't have that brain. Now there's somebody out there with a computer for a brain that remembers, oh, well, that's not right. I'm like, well, fine, it's not right. I'm not
Well, I think
I'm not a computer.
right. The beauty of, I think, The Walking Dead was like for the first and into the second and even possibly the third season, very tight.
Yeah, yeah.
That whole second season, it was just at that farm, basically, and we're really getting into the ins and outs of these characters.
Yeah.
But then it kind of, parabola out.
Branches off.
Yeah.
Were you watching the show before you got cast?
Oh yeah, definitely watching the show.
Yeah.
And then had to take a break from watching it because, you're watching part of a family that, you're kind of tender and raw and not able to be, hanging out with anymore. But I've always been a fan of the show.
Yeah, I think it's the only long, like a series that's run remotely long where no one from the first episode, maybe even the second, I forgot where Melissa shows up in, reaches the end of the series.
Maybe a zombie or two.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the only thing. Like if they pluck somebody, I mean, there were so many deaths on that show.
I know.
Like,
you're dead now. You're dead. You're dead.
You couldn't get too used to anybody because they could go at any second.
That's right. That's the beauty of the show. They weren't afraid of it,
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about what got you involved in acting to begin with. What was it about acting that appealed to you?
When I was young, I saw a movie being shot on the streets of New York that I remember being very intensely mesmerized by. I've always had really great characters in my family that I would always do impressions of. I think, that kind of started my comedy chops. My mom was an actress and a model when she was younger. Yeah. She went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. She was a Ford model, like back in the day. Yeah, this was back in the day before like being a Ford model meant anything. But I always like to say it because I'm very
it's impressive.
Yeah, and so it was something that I, for a while there, my mom, it was just me and her as a single mom, and so we had not a lot of money and a lot of imagination, and she always encouraged me, and we would play fun things in the store. We would pretend like we were other people, and so it's always kind of been there in my upbringing. And then I told my mom that I wanted to be an actress, and she's like, okay, well, get your degree. So then I got my degree, and she's like, okay, make some money. And so then I worked in journalism for 3 years. I was the CBS affiliate, the assignment editor for the CBS affiliate here in town for 3.5 years, right around the Olympics and everything.
Oh, wow.
And then she was like, all right, well, do you have enough money for health insurance? And so then I was like, all right, well, are you telling me that I shouldn't start this dream? And she's like, no, start it. And so, I did. I quit the station and started acting full time. I mean, I was doing it part time. And then every year, you kind of, my career was never been like this. It's just been a slow incline, a beautifully slow incline.
Yeah.
Incline. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Not a decline.
Yeah. No. Decline would be the opposite.
Yeah. So,
decline would be negative.
Yeah. So, a lot of people, start their careers in a larger market. I started mine in a smaller market and allowed my career to take me, out to Los Angeles and Chicago for Chicago Fire and other places as well. So that's my story.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Well, you've got Teen Wolf the movie coming up on Paramount Plus soon.
Yes.
What is there anything else you've shot or something you're going to start shooting?
Yes, thanks for asking. I just shot a fun little role with this. I mean, I joke. This new up and coming actor. His name is Kevin Hart. Have you heard of him? Kevin Hart?
Yes,
I think he's going to be a winner. Yeah. He was here in Atlanta, and he had a show that was reconceptualized, and we're doing a project called Die Harter. Where,
okay.
He plays a kind of like an action star in the making, and I play his publicist manager.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was a couple of days of shooting. That was a lot of fun. And I just finished up. It's actually coming out Friday the 13th, January 13th.
Okay.
Bridgewater, which is a podcast on iHeartRadio, and I play a character on that, and it's been amazing. Really well received, and we're very excited for everyone to listen to that as well.
What is Bridgewater about?
Oh, that's a whole thing. It's a whole sci-fi mystery about this town and the mysterious things that happen in
Huh.
this particular area.
So like an old school radio serial
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I always thought that that's with all these things out there, they should be doing stuff like that.
Yes. It's based on folklore. And
Who
yeah,
knew that was becoming a thing again?
Who knew?
I had no idea.
Who knew?
It's fascinating. It's like I always think the best story about anything on the radio was Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, when
Yes.
nobody was listening to it, and then everybody switched over for some reason. I forget the reason, but there was something going on, a national ball game of some sort or something, and it ended, and they switched over, and they came, everybody came in the middle of it, and they thought it was real. They missed
Right.
all the, the warnings that this is a play and all that stuff, and people started freaking out.
Well, I always like to say what I lack in talent, I make up for in commitment. And sometimes when the people that are making whatever project it is when they're 100% committed, it shows. And especially for radio, can you imagine how committed people had to be in order to draw everyone in to listen?
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, it's just like anything, I mean, it was at one point radio was new.
Yeah.
It was like, that was I'm sure people were, railing against the scourge of the horrible radio that's in everyone's homes, and how it's going to be mind control, just like they did with TV and everything else.
Yeah, don't listen to that. It's Satan. Yeah, sure.
Yes, right. Yeah, Satan's coming over to go inside your ears. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Melissa. It was great getting to know you a little bit, and look forward to Teen Wolf the movie coming on Paramount Plus at the end of the month.
Yes.
And looking forward to seeing what you do next, including Bridgewater and Die Harter with that Kevin Hart guy.
Little known Kevin Hart. Yes.
I have to look into find out who he is.
Up and coming dude.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Brett. We're real excited about it, and we hope everybody tunes in. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, no, thank you as well. I wish you the best of luck.
You too, honey. Thank
All
you.
right, take care.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.